early polling shows that the big beautiful bill has a negative perception for people who know about it, but a lot of people still don't really know much about it. So that's where Republicans are trying to make up some ground there. And the messaging primarily is on the tax cut portion of it.
Welcome to The Deep Brief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here with politics editor Marisa Schultz. And Marisa, your team has been covering the one big beautiful bill, which finally passed last week. Guess you guys pretty exhausted heading into the holiday weekend. But you guys wrote this week about how Democrats are sort of running back the GOP playbook that the Republicans used to great effect to sort of message and characterize Obamacare like 10 years ago, more than that at this point. Tell us what you mean by all that.
Yeah, so we've caught up on sleep, I think, a little bit from all the overnight sessions that they needed to pass the big, beautiful bill. But now that it's law, the messaging is on full steam ahead. This is going to be a campaign issue for 2026. And Rachel Schultz did a report this week for us in the Examiner about how some of the playbook that Democrats are using is very similar to the playbook that Republicans use for Obamacare. And even though this is not necessarily a health care bill, it does do a lot to change Medicaid. And so the argument from Democrats in a lot of ways is that not only is this bill going to roll back health care insurance, people could die. People are saying that on the House floor, that people could die. And all in the name of giving tax breaks to people, including the wealthy.
What do you think of the way that the Republicans have done so far, and they have a lot of runway left to sell this before their next, time to go before the voters, which is next year. But what do you make so far of the way that they've been messaging this bill?
So they have ways to go. So early polling shows that the big beautiful bill has a negative perception for people who know about it, but a lot of people still don't really know much about it. So that's where Republicans are trying to make up some ground there. And the messaging primarily is on the tax cut portion of it. So there are a bunch of expiring tax cuts this year. The 2017 tax law that President Trump signed into law, much of those tax breaks are going to phase out this year had it not been for the big beautiful bill. So the messaging is on all the Democrats who opposed this big beautiful bill. They were essentially trying to give Americans a huge tax hike. And Republicans are here to get more money in your pockets.
So some of the, when you look at polling, if you ask voters, do you want to cut Medicaid for poor people? Most of them are like, no, I don't want to do that, right? But if you frame the question like, do you want to get illegal immigrants off of Medicaid so that poor people could have better access to it, most voters say, oh, yeah, that sounds good. So do you think Republicans need to sort of lean into some of the parts that might at first blush feel controversial, like the Medicaid cuts, in order to sort of sell the whole legislation?
Yeah, so this is where the messaging comes in. So from the Republicans' point of view, Medicaid spending has gone up over time. It's kind of gotten unwieldy. And if we want to preserve this program for the people who absolutely need it the most, which they say they want to, it's important to put safeguards in place to make sure people who are on the Medicaid aren't on there, when they shouldn't be. And that's where the work requirements come in. I think Republicans are finding that work requirements are somewhat popular. And they're saying, look, we're just trying to get able-bodied people
with no kids.
Yeah, with no kids. If they can work and get a job that allows them to have employer-provided health insurance, then that's better for them, and it's also saving money for the Medicaid program that's funded by taxpayers. The flip side of this, of course, is if you just look at raw data, and that's what Democrats are referring to, there's scores out there, the CBO score that is constantly being criticized by Republicans, but their scoring the bill says that millions of people are going to lose health insurance. And that just sort of feeds into the narrative that people are going to be negatively impacted by the legislation on the healthcare side. So Republicans have to frame it to the extent of we're actually preserving it for the people who need it the most.
And now that Congress has had like a 3-second break, and so have you guys, what's next on the docket? When we look ahead for the rest of the summer, what are Republicans going to be working on?
So the next big thing that's coming up in the Senate is something called a rescissions package, and it's even hard for me to say it. But it's essentially a bill that the White House sent over that's asking Congress to make certain cuts. Some people shorthand it as like solidifying the DOGE cuts, and that would be things such as rolling back money to PBS and PR, and that's going to come up for a vote sometime soon in the Senate. And then after that, it's all appropriation season, and you'll probably hear us talking about whether there's going to be a shutdown.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. It's been a while since we had a good shutdown watch. Well, Marisa, thank you so much for being here today. You can get more from Marisa and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.